My name is Paul Moore. I'm farming here just outside Middleton in East Cork. We've been farming here for nearly 300 years now. I'm 7th generation farmer on the home farm here. About 100 acres here, mainly tillage, malting barley, winter barley, spring beans, a bit of a rotation, and also a small amount of beef, and we're supplying local suppliers. In terms of habitats, I mean, we've got the big hedgerows and mature trees around that attract certain species, and I suppose it's really, for me, it's about maintaining a diversity of hedgerows and habitats where possible. Managing habitats on the farm, even the smallest area can be a usually useful habitat. So you have a bee scrape here, various kind of bee species that like to burrow into bare soil, south facing. So I've got 5 or 6 of these around the farm. This one is there's more stones than soil, but there's a little bit there, and there are various kind of little bee species, because you see you've got a flower-rich margin as well beside it. So it's just a tiny little habitat, but really useful in its own right. Tiny little habitat again, patch of nettles in the middle of the field. So there's about 5 species of butterfly that will depend on nettle. It's the food plant for their caterpillar. So just leaving a tiny little patch like this out in the middle of the field, slightly separated from the hedgerows and stuff, where most of the predators, you know, blue tits and grey tits and things like that, will live. And you get butterflies, peacock, tortoiseshell, small tortoiseshell, red admiral, and you can see there's actually some caterpillars in here now on these nettles. So just leaving it, you know, not spraying it off, not cutting, just a tiny little patch. This is partly sown by me and partly natural. There's cowslip, there's primrose, there's the daisies are sown, there's mullein, there's strawberry, there's dog violet, a whole load of others. And this is like fantastic for pollinators, even the other side as well. There's foxgloves here as well. An area like this can be integrated as part of your farming system in terms of providing beneficial insects to control the insects that you don't want. So aphids are a real pest problem you've got malting barley here beside us. So aphids carry diseases that can badly affect the crop. So your options are either hope and that they won't do it and do nothing, spray them off with an insecticide, or something like this, just increase the amount or the number of beneficial insects that will control the nasty ones. So I haven't sprayed insecticide within 30 metres of any hedgerow on the farm in about 10 years, and I've never had cause to regret it in terms of yield or disease, because at this stage I think there's just a sufficient population of the beneficial stuff, you know, sawflies, hoverflies, ladybirds, all the other things that will eat aphids and help control the population naturally. This area is just kind of, I suppose, the extensive part, the less intensive part. You know, there's really thick hedgerows. It's pretty much organic, it doesn't get fertiliser. You got kind of wet areas, different species then that you won't get in the intensive areas. So there's reed buntings in here, there's meadow pipits here, a lot of butterflies in the grass, because you just see there's loads of flowers and stuff. We're always taught, and the whole focus has been intensify, you know, improve and get rid of areas like this. That needs to change, because, you know, we've always been geared to produce one thing, just, you know, produce more. But now, you know, there are other requirements of farmland now, that we need other things, like, you know, the ecosystem services, that areas like this can provide. You know, it's helping to prevent flooding, because there's a drain running through it that hasn't been drained, hasn't been cleared. So it's just doing so much and providing so much biodiversity that needs to be appreciated in farm policy, in terms of, you know, in terms of the education, and dare I say it, at the market as well, in terms of what people buy. You know, this needs to be appreciated and supported. It's not just farmers who can make the difference here. Everybody has a role to play in terms of making better choices. I'm not the standard model for farming for nature awards, in that I'm a commercial farmer. I'm trying to make as much money as possible. I'm fairly intensive, but I'm just doing a little bit differently. But if everybody did a little bit, if all farmers, no matter what their enterprise, just did a little bit on a landscape scale, that would make a huge difference. That would be so useful. You only need around 10% of farmland set aside for biodiversity to be totally sustainable.